Don't even think about trying the carnivore diet because you'll never succeed and you'll make yourself sick and you'll wish you hadn't. Good morning, everybody. It's me, Mitch, and I'm going to cook some breakfast. I wore my National Sarcastic Society shirt today for a reason. Maybe I should put a warning label up. I may get a little sarcastic because every time you think it can't get any more stupid or any more absurd, the misinformation out there, you run across things like I'm going to talk about today, and you say, are people really that gullible and stupid? Or is the system so rigged that none of us stand a chance? I should title this video, don't even think about trying the carnivore diet because you'll never succeed and you'll make yourself sick and you'll wish you hadn't. I mean, that should be the title of this video, and for many people, that'd probably be great advice. That'd probably be great advice. And that advice would rank right up there with advice like, don't jump off 2,000-foot cliffs with a wingsuit because you probably will crash into the rocks and die. Or don't try to fly an airplane if you're not a pilot. Or anything else that you shouldn't do unless you frigging learn how first. You also shouldn't play professional hockey. I could go on like this all day. What is it that makes people think that they should try something, anything, and not just try it, but feel qualified to write about it in a national magazine, and then have the article that they wrote ranked #1 on Google in that category? How does this happen? So this morning, I'm thinking about the simplicity of the carnivore lifestyle and how we complicate everything to the point where it's not even doable anymore. And every time I sit down and look at YouTube, of course I get a ton of carnivore stuff in my feed because that's what I usually watch. And every time I watch another one of these carnivore things, instead of making it simpler, I find out all the new and different things that I have to keep track of and I have to do. I find out what health markers I need to monitor every day. I find out that every day I need to be concerned about making sure I get enough sunlight. I do exactly the amount of grounding. I need to go out and buy a grounding mat for my bed. I need to keep track of the pedigree of the cow whose beef I'm eating because I have to eat only the best. I have to follow the chickens. around the pasture to make sure that they only eat the grubs and worms they're supposed to. And then I probably have to hang around and make sure that the eggs that I bought actually came from the chicken that I followed around. Who's got time? Who's got the mental capacity? Who can afford to hire an accountant and a business manager to make sure you're doing this carnivore lifestyle the right way and following all of the recommendations that we get from everywhere? No wonder people are screwed up just when you think you got it down pat. Along comes some guy in a video that tells you there's a particular thing you need to be taking. Take your choice. Berberine, you need to be taking berberine. Somebody's evidently selling something. I thought this was supposed to be a simple diet. Eat the bacon, eat the eggs, eat the meat, move a little bit. Stay away from sugar. Stay away from seed oils. If you can tolerate them and you want to eat a veggie now and then, go right ahead. Other than that, it's simple. But like everything else in life, like everything else in the world, we humans overcomplicate everything. We overcomplicate everything. And so I said to somebody surely besides me out there said this morning, has put down a simple set of carnivore diet rules. Carnivore diet rules. I don't think that's in any way ambiguous. So I sat down at my computer and I Googled Carnivore Diet Rules. And you know how Google works. You're lucky if you get your thing on the first page of Google results, let alone at the very top. And at the very top of a Google search for Carnivore Diet Rules appears, as if by magic, a Men's Health magazine article by some 28-year-old carb addict who heard about the carnivore diet and decided he was going to try it and report on what happened. He may as well put on a wingsuit and jumped off the cliff. He had no idea what to expect. He knew nothing about it. He knew nothing about the biology of it, or the history of it, or the chemistry of it. He knew nothing about what he was going to have to go through to become fat adapted. If he had done a little research first, he may have given it a more fair shake. But I got news for you. Anybody reading this article from Men's Health magazine, and I'm going to put a link to this whole article in the description below, and I'm going to talk about some of the things, but I want you to read this article, and after you read this article, you'll say to yourself, I don't know how anybody could ever do this based on what this guy said. 28 years old, talks about how he woke up hungover, and the eggs didn't quite do it for him. Yeah, I mean, it was the height of absurdity, bullshit, and just ignorance. Pure and simple ignorance. How many, this is the sad part, how many people who might have found their way to this lifestyle change the course of their life, change the course of their life, change their destiny from that of a fat, sick diabetic when they start to get into their 50s and 60s Now, mind you, this kid is 28 years old. How many people did this article in Men's Health magazine, which itself has nothing healthy in it, how many people said, wow, that's just radical? Because the last words in this article were the words, bad diet. That's how the article ended. Read it. How many people are going to suffer because they had one shot at considering this, and the first thing that Google showed them was this Men's Health article that ridiculed every aspect of what we do as fringe and lunatic and impossible. If I hadn't heard of carnivore, if I hadn't have been living this for years already, if I hadn't experienced the amazing benefits of living and eating like a human being is supposed to, and my first bit of exposure to this lifestyle was this clown's article, more than likely you could come and visit me in the cemetery by now, instead of keeping me company in the kitchen here, cooking bacon and eggs. I was going to go over the article on the computer. I'll just let you read the thing for yourself. At every paragraph there's another ad, so you got to really keep scrolling. But read this. Read this. One of two things. Most of you who watch my channel already know enough to know that this is all nonsense. But there's not a... Compared to the number of people out there, the number of people that watch carnivore channels is tiny. Point your friends. Use this as an example of where not to go for your information. Anybody that's interested. And I don't mean go out and become an evangelist, but anybody who's interested. If you've been around this for a while, you have a list of trusted sources. Stick to them. You can't follow everybody's advice on anything. Everybody's advice is conflicting, even in the carnivore community. Do it this way, do it that way. Find somebody that you can trust and stick to his advice and ignore things that don't follow that until you convince yourself that that advice you're following works or doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, find somebody else to take your advice from. But please, I started out this little exercise this morning with the idea of making the point that simpler is better. The more rules there are, the more things you have to consider, the more impossible it's going to be to do. And I ended up with that article, which just, as you can tell, kind of torqued me off. And wow, I need to empty my grease thing. I hope I have room for this in here, but I'll have to empty this out today. I do generate a lot of bacon grease. Anyway, that's what I got for you today, guys. Excuse me while I beat my eggs. I can't deprive you of that. Thank you. Thank you. And after that beating, I'm going to finish cooking my breakfast and eat it, and you read that article. It's incredible. and learn that I don't care how big a magazine is or how it sounds like it really should be the foremost authority on everything. It's still written by human beings that are fools, inexperienced, have their own agendas for one reason or another, and don't have a clue what they're writing about. And the fact that Google ranked this #1, I'll let you draw your own conclusions as to why that kind of stuff happens. For those of you who think we're conspiracy theorists with tinfoil hats. So take the rest of the day off, my friends, and eat meat.